Yes, my lovely people, we are back for a lovely episode of Wtp Podcast. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to your boy. Press that little notification bell button, and it'll tell you all the times that I've uploaded on YouTube. Sit back, relax, and take everything in today because we got the big man in the building. We got the big coach. Come on, coach.
Thank you for having me, man.
Yeah, no problem, man. No problem. It's good to see you as well, and it's good to have an actual boxing coach to talk to because I've actually never talked to a boxing coach and hear like the knowledge and the ins and out of actual boxing. Do you get what I'm saying? So if you can just tell me like, how did you start like your journey of being an actual coach, or did you start boxing first, or how did you start?
Yeah, I got into this. I got into boxing. I took a real interest in boxing at about 11 years old.
Yeah.
I went to my first gym at about 13, 14, and it was All Stars Boxing Club.
Mhm.
But I trained with a. There was a coach running an after-school program at my secondary school, and he started training me for about just under a year,
Mhm.
and that's when I really fell in love with boxing because things were making a lot of sense then.
Yeah.
There was a lot of boxers that I was told to study from
Yeah.
11 onwards, and when I met him, it was a style that was very comfortable to me. It's like that's what I want to learn.
Mhm.
So I became very, very close to him, and yeah, we were prepping to, take over the world. I just love the sport. Love the style of boxing. It's more of a Midwest style of boxing, more of an American style of boxing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And but unfortunately, he passed away in a very short space of
God
time.
bless, man.
So I went to a few other gyms just to see, how it was, and it wasn't him. It was very difficult to
It
settle
doesn't
somewhere else.
feel right, innit?
No, it never clicked anywhere else.
Yeah.
So I kind of walked away for a while, then got back into it. Decided to go for my pro license. Had some medical issues getting approved. Easy to deal with now, but back then didn't really know the kind of people I need to know really to get things sorted out. So had to walk away from it again for the second time, and then put on a lot of weight. And my cousin said to me, "Oh, there's a coach doing a fitness class on a Saturday," and it was one of the All Stars coaches.
Yeah.
Who had been there for years. So I started going there just to lose weight, and then just slowly fell in love with it again. And what I was really looking for was a boxer that could replace the feel that I had with my coach. I wanted to give what he had taught me to somebody else. And it took a long time, but eventually got very comfortable with someone teaching them that style because it is the most difficult boxing style to teach. It is high risk because if you get it wrong, you're in trouble. But I needed someone who was really dedicated and really wanted to learn and was willing to go through the tough times of it because you will get beat up in the gym doing it. You would until you get it right. It's hard, and you have to be very, very mentally strong. So, it's that really is my boxing journey. I could go into a lot more detail, but obviously, it's a lot of it is painful. Thinking about it back then. But now, in a very, very good place, and I'm happy that I decided to be a coach. And the first boxer I trained was in 1999. So I've been a boxing coach for a very, very long time now.
Yeah. Okay. So it was a real, would you call it as a emotional roller coaster for you?
100%. I've only met one other person that came close to that story. A very good friend of mine. His name's Junior. And it's hard, but I think everybody's journey in boxing is difficult. It's a very, very hard sport.
Yeah, for real.
It does take time to settle. You don't see enough long-term relationship with boxers and coaches now because when things do go wrong, one or the other decides to go and move on. They don't really go through the good and bad times together, and that really is part of the journey. You learn together. You just make a couple of changes, a couple of tweaks. You need to add here, add there, and you go again. I wanted that sort of relationship with a boxer as well, and that's not it's not as common to me now. But you still see it, and it's good to see.
Okay. Because being a boxer, do you have to have like, I don't know how to explain it, like your like head, does it have to be really, really strong to be a boxer?
I don't think so.
No.
I've come across a lot of fragile boxers. Seriously, mentally fragile. You just have to know how to get into their head and what buttons to push. But I think outside of actually being in the ring, they're some of the most sensitive people I've ever met. Very emotional boxers.
Yeah.
And that's why when you do find that relationship with a coach, and they do understand, you tend not to go anywhere because they got your best interest at heart.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it's obviously, when you're in a fight and things are not going your way, some boxers are strong enough just to do what needs to do to get through that period, either getting hurt with a shot or
Yeah.
getting tired and knowing where to recover. Other times a coach needs to push those buttons and say, listen, we can do this. Or, we've spent hours and hours training, so yeah, you got it in a tank, let's go. Some boxers do need that motivation. I wouldn't say I was necessarily that kind of coach where I'm a motivator.
Yeah.
I'm more technical. I will tell you what you need to do during the fight to, get the best out of the situation.
Yeah,
but
for
some
real.
guys are very good at motivating. Some guys are good at shouting. I've seen some coaches slap boxers. I've seen all sorts. But like I said, you got to find what works for you. There's no right and wrong to me.
Yeah.
Everyone's approach is different, and I respect it all. I just know that it is a complex game. You just got to know what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I feel that about boxing, it's more the push your limits, innit?
Yeah, because
It's
a lot of people do say you have to come from a certain area or background to be a boxer.
Yeah.
It's nonsense.
I thought it was like that though. Nah, it's not.
No, I mean, my parents grew up in quite a difficult place to live.
Yeah.
Hull's is not an easy place to come from.
Oh, Holston, yeah.
Chalk Hill's not an easy place to come from. But when they knew they were having me, and a couple of years later, I had my brother. They wanted to get us away from that environment because at those times it was a very dangerous period to be in. You had a lot of people going missing because of the police and so on.
Yeah.
My dad had a lot of friends in Harlesden. He had to walk away from them.
Mhm.
Him and my mum, they made a decision and said, listen, let's go to an area. Obviously, it's going to be difficult for us because we can't really afford it. But they both did 2 or 3 jobs each and moved to a decent area. And so I grew up in a decent area. I didn't grow up in where they grew up.
Oh, okay.
So me being able to box, it had nothing to do where I come from. I just know how to fight. It's just, I just think if you know how to fight, you know how to fight. Like, you don't have to come from a hard background to be able to know how to fight.
Yeah.
But what they went through, I think that's what molded and shaped me. The house they decided to buy, when they would decide to buy it,
Yeah.
every single person on that street signed a petition saying they didn't want no black people living on that road. It was
Yeah,
that.
it was really political back in them days as well.
It was that heavy. When my dad told me about it, I was quite shocked because he told me quite later. When I'd actually finished school. All lovely people now, but at that time, they didn't want to accept that that's what they were doing.
Yeah.
And my mum had to, on top of the job she already had, she had to clean houses and so on. So, to me, it's not where you are, it's where you're going. They worked very hard to get where they got to, and obviously, the Miller name carries a lot of weight to me.
Yeah.
It does feel heavy on my shoulders, and I do feel me making them proud is a big deal for me. So just to show them, listen, I did appreciate what you guys had to go through then, and the way the kids are now. To me, the mentality, I don't think they know what being tough is. Going through that sort of situation to me is tough. Not hanging outside in the States saying things ain't gonna work.
Yeah.
It's different time. It's a really hard time for them.
This generation is madness.
Yeah.
It is absolutely madness because you're seeing people killing each other, beating up each other and stuff like that. Knife crime, all of that. Me personally, I don't really agree with knife crime and all of that. You use your fists. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's why we opened our gym in the first place in 2013, was to help tackle those issues with gun crime, knife crime. And me and my business partner, I spent 16 years in education, 8 in primary and then 8 years in secondary. And it was difficult, but everybody needs to contribute. If you're not at least, I went as far as being a head teacher for a short period. You know, I started as a mentor in a primary school. So I think as long as you're making some sort of positive contribution, you know, you should be helping out with after school clubs. You know, even as a volunteer. There's no point in sitting back and complaining about how things are if you're not personally like trying to address it.
Yeah.
So yeah, everyone's got to play their part. I know everybody wants to make money, but you can take a couple of hours out of your week to go and help these young kids, talk to them, try and, you know, it's one kid that I met, honestly, he was getting in a lot of trouble, you know, and again, he's from Harlesden. He was coming to I was working at a Stonebridge boxing club at the time.
Yeah.
And, you know, he just I met him when he was 14, kind of just turned his life around within like a year and a half. And one day we were in the gym training, and I said to him, what was it? He said to me, you gave me your time. He said, that's all it was.
Oh, it was that simple?
He said, you were willing to give me your time. And you believed in what I was doing. You know, we didn't even have any long conversation. It was just like, right, I'll see you at the gym tomorrow. You know, because I said to the head coach at the gym at the time, I said, that kid could do something. Yeah. You know, so anytime I was in there and not like, outside of the classes that I was doing, I said, no, come in at this time and, you know, hit the bag or do some pads.
Mm-hmm.
You know, end up becoming one of the best boxers I had. You know, so again,
that's
just
interesting
just give a bit of time to these young people. That's all you got to do.
Yeah, sometimes like you just have to have a little bit of patience. Is patience something that you have when you're?
I think I used to be a lot more patient.
Yeah.
When I was younger, you know, because obviously you have to be working in a school, like you're dealing with issues all day long.
Yeah.
And you know, sometimes you don't want it to go straight to you because that's why you've got a team. You know, you've got assistant head, you've got deputy, you've got, you know, you've got head of year and so on and so forth. You want them to deal with the majority of the problems.
Yeah.
But me and my business partner, honestly, I worked with him for a long time. Most of the issues come to us, and then we just dealt with it all in house. Very rarely would I call a parent to deal with their child. You know, for me, it was like I failed if I had to go and do that. Say, no, I'll deal with you here. You know, if that means keeping you behind or having that talk with you or giving you a different perspective, you know, I'll do that. Yeah. But to me, that's the job of like you work in education. You know, you got to deal with that issue there until it gets, if it gets extreme and it gets out of hand, then obviously you got to do what you got to do. But I don't think I ever permanently excluded one child in all my years I worked in education. You know, we had a lot of kids sent with a file. I mean, one kid coming and a file this big, right, with all the issues that it had in all the schools.
That's mad.
Getting excluded and so on. It's like after like 3 weeks, I was like, that can't be what I've been reading here. I just said to him, yeah, what is it about here? He said everyone's okay. There's no one shouting and screaming. It just end up getting some of the best results at the end of the year when he left.
That's decent.
You know, it's just time. Just give these young people time. That's the key.
That's what I reckon as well. Like they just need time and a good talking to. But again, some of them, it goes in one ear and comes out the other, isn't it?
Yeah. It's hard. It's hard. It's like we had a lot of kids before, and I used to say, you know, some of the staff or the parents, you know, they've got to do this now. They've got to get their diploma or got to get their GCSEs. I said, listen, they'll come good in their own time. You force it, it's not going to work.
Yeah, exactly.
So we used to create different plans. Like maybe a kid was more interested in mechanics, you know, maybe they wanted to do an apprenticeship. Maybe that meant more to them than doing those subjects at that time. It doesn't mean they can't spin the block and come back to it after.
Yeah.
But if you try and force it, you lose them.
For real.
You've got to be firm, obviously.
Yeah.
And exhaust all possibilities, but you know, and try and force it. It's not going to work. You know, everyone matures at different times.
True. That is actually true. And is that like all them skills from the school? Do you put it in your gym as well to the people that you're training, or is it totally different?
I think me working education and me being a boxing coach is, to me, they're two completely different people.
Two different completely people.
Yeah. I think I had a team. When you work in education, you've got a team.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when that boxer walks up those steps to that ring and that bell rings and they go to the middle, you know, you're the last person they see. Mm-hmm. They're on their own until they come back to that corner. It's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, because...
It's a lot.
one of the boxers that you coach, you know who he is. He said that basically, in other words, like when you're in the ring, you're the only person. You're alone in it, if that makes sense. And it's only you that can make it happen. Obviously, when the bell rings, yeah, you can listen, but it's you to take it in and to actually listen and to complete that goal, innit?
100%. And that's why I say a lot of boxers come up short because they're not coachable. And, you know, you mentioned being patient.
Yeah.
Like, that I find, that is the hardest part of, like, coaching to me. Because I had my coach for, like, 9-10 months and he died. Like, that's a very short space of time to teach someone boxing.
Yeah.
But everything he taught me in that period, I don't forget it. I know it now. I use it now.
Yeah, yeah.
And some of the boxers like have been coming for years, and they still can't get it. Some guys are just not coachable like that. Some guys you just have to just get them as fit as possible, and just let them go. Some guys have the IQ to be able to take on information and then go and deliver. But it takes a lot. It takes years. It takes years to build a boxer.
That's
It takes
actually,
years.
it makes sense, innit?
It takes years because it's like a dress rehearsal. You're in the gym, you're hitting pads, you're doing sparring, but fight night is the test, and it's can you deliver in the ring on the night? You've been practicing for like 10, 11, 12 weeks. A lot of boxers, the bell rings and it's just a fight to them. It's not a strategy, and to me, the best boxers in the world, the elite boxers, are able to do that. Like the Terence Crawfords, the Canelos of the world, the Usyks. Usyk's giving away a lot of natural weight, but the amount of amateur fights that he's had, you can't. It's not something to just sneeze at. Like, he's walked from the changing room to the ring like 300 times.
Yeah.
Like,
Is there any like inspirational people in like the boxing world that you look up to?
I would say my favourite fighter of all time is Evander Holyfield. And
Ooh,
there's a lot of different reasons. My uncle said to me, when he was an amateur, you need to look at this guy. He saw something in him early. And I started watching him. I watched him through the Olympics and, when he got robbed for the gold. And he was the first, I think he was the first out of one of the best Olympic teams ever, US Olympic team, I think it was 84. You had the likes of Meldrick Taylor in there, Pernell Whitaker. Evander Holyfield was part of that Olympic team. He was the first one to win a world title at that team. And then went on to be an first undisputed champion ever. It's kind of like, it's not as rare now. Like, you hear it now, this person's undisputed. Back then, like, he was the first one to do it.
That's like history.
Yeah, he was the first one to make history in 2 different weight classes. And then went on to surpass Muhammad Ali's record, regaining the heavyweight title 4 times. So I watched him fight Riddick Bowe. It's one defense of his title. And he was giving away so much natural weight. And I couldn't believe the heart and determination he had. He was taking a beating from Bowe, because Bowe was just so much bigger. But he just never gave up. Like, the round 10 is probably one of the greatest. It goes in the top 10 greatest rounds of all time. But I got a lot of inspiration from him. He's one boxer he's the only boxer that I'd love to meet. I never met him before. And he never made an excuse after fights. He just went back in there and tried again. He seemed to do that throughout his whole career till he had to retire.
Yeah.
And he was my biggest inspiration. I never said to anybody he's the greatest fighter of all time, but to me he's one of them, and he's one of the most accomplished. I mean, in terms,
it makes sense. Yeah.
I know Floyd is obviously unbeaten, but that really doesn't do anything for me. I think if you fight all the top guys at the time you're supposed to fight them, you're going to have a couple of losses here and there, like the Leonards and Haglund and Hearns and so on, Durans. They've got some losses on their record, but they all fought each other. If all these current guys fight each other, these top guys now, like these lightweights, you're going to have a couple of losses here and there. That's a real boxing record to me. That's just the way it goes. Sometimes someone's just going to have the beating of you, but it's how you come back. So, true. He's definitely one that's inspired me, definitely.
But to me, correct me if I'm wrong, to me, boxing's not the same how it used to be, like back in the days. Reason for why I say that is now these days they got like, you know, like the misfits and stuff like that. You got people who be training for like, I don't know, like for instance, like 3-5 weeks, and they get put in the ring to get embarrassed, like, and all of that. Like, props to them, like whoever gets into the ring,
100%.
like you're a soldier, innit?
100% getting in there.
You're a soldier. But going back to the fight a few weeks ago that I attended to, that opened up my eyes to think like, rah, boxing slowly coming back, like, because I don't really go to these events, but because it was my boy and I'm there to support him, like, he opened up my eyes, like, rah, like, boxing is really it now, like, I'm ready to go to the next one. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, Yousef, he's got a fan-friendly style anyway.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've got a lot of respect for Yousef because, you know, he's the fighter that I built from 15, 16. He's the one that I thought he'd, you know, he could do what I'm asking him to do and he'll be able to deliver. Because I just thought he had the right mentality to do it. And every fight that he's had, it's a fight that I've suggested because I wanted to build a complete fighter. I want him to fight real guys and around him so that when he does get to the highest level, you know, he'll be prepared for it. A lot of guys now, what they do is they want to pick and choose, they want to fight. And like you were saying earlier, boxing's not quite the same. But everybody's going to say that. You know, my dad loved Donald Curry. He will tell you that the 70s and 80s was the best because you had Ali and all those kind of guys.
Yeah.
Me, I'm going to tell you the 90s was the best because I've got Bo Holyfield, you know, Shane Mosley, Floyd. That's me. You ask guys today, they're going to say to you, they like Tank or they like Devin or Crawford or Canelo, Usyk. So I suppose it depends on what generation you're coming from, but I think the top guys are always going to be the top guys because they do things the right way. You know, having a majority of the time have an extensive amateur career. Because that prepares you well. Starting boxing, preferably in single digits, will hold you in good stead. You know, starting like 9, 10, 11 years old is a good time to start. Because those guys usually have the better footwork because they've had the time to do that, you know, throughout their whole amateur career. When, to be honest with you, the amateur boxing coaches to me are the teachers. The pros are just polishing up things here and there, but when you've had these kids from very young and you're teaching them that level of footwork, you know, once they have that good footwork, they carry it throughout their whole career. So normally they're the better guys. But yeah, I think there's always been good and bad in every single period of boxing. Every single decade has always been good and bad. And the misfits, to be honest with you, and the YouTube boxing, I actually like it.
What's your take on that? You
I like it. I like it because, you know, especially in America, like boxing's not as big as I think like basketball and all those other kind of sports. You know, we need more eyes on our sport. Then these guys can make more money. Then there's more shows. Then there's more opportunities.
Yeah.
You know, Misfits is just another avenue. You know, I've got one of the guys at my gym, Spartan Jay.
I
love Jay. Jay is just.
He's got mad energy,
he's in the gym. He's in the gym every single day, and he wants to do this so badly. When it's someone like him, it's different. Then I respect it because he hasn't had the amateur pedigree, or you know, he's just come from one sport straight into this, and said, you know, I think I can do it. And one thing in particular that he's done that I wish that my other fighters had done in my gym. Because of social media, boxing's not what it was before. So you do need to build a brand first. I mean, I've sent boxers to promoters or managers, and they've come back to me and they said, "Zav, you got to be joking," because they don't have the social media numbers. And I'm thinking, but this guy is like could win a British title, European title. They're saying, well, you know, we need the following. So with someone like Jay, you know, he's built a brand first, and then he's got into boxing. A lot of the guys at my gym, they just because they're good fighters, they think that they should just be getting opportunities. Boxing's changed, and if you're talking like that, that means you're not changing with it. More than likely you're going to get left behind, and then people start to get bitter and not understand what's going on. I understand that the social media element of boxing is very, very important, You know, I know how important it is. I'm posting every day.
Yeah.
You know, I'm 52 and I'm doing it. You know, and then some of these boxers don't want to do the ticket sales. It's like you have to understand how promoting works. A promoter has to spend a lot of money. You know, the venue costs a lot of money. You know, security costs a lot of money. You know, printing tickets. You know, all these things cost. All your staff that's in the building, all the boxing board fees you got to pay. You got ambulance. You got the boxing ring. You have to pay for all these things. It costs
I
thousands of
never
pounds.
actually thought of it like that.
Yeah,
like,
the promoter's got to spend out first, and then what do you think he's going to do? He's going to go and look for boxers that sell tickets so he can get his money back. Like, it's not personal. You know, these guys, they get upset because they don't sell good tickets. No, that's your job. Like, if you want to get opportunities, what they don't understand is whether you're starting your career from scratch or you get right to the end, you're always going to sell tickets. You know, certain promoters will book you at the O2 because they know you've got a fan base, because the fan base is going to buy tickets. You know, you guys don't understand it.
True.
So when you're on small hall shows, like the show you came to the other day, like Yousef had to do a lot of tickets to pay his way.
Yeah.
But that's how it works. To me, that's part of the journey. Like, you should build yourself up. You know, you have to get a fan base. People are coming to watch you fight. It's an entertainment business. You can't be saying to me that you think you could sell 20, 30 tickets and everyone should just accept what you're doing. No, you're not. You're not on a major platform. So until you get there, your name is your brand. If you're not willing to work hard for your own name, then I don't want to hear the complaints. And I've got quite a few in my gym like that. But, you know, they think that me or my business partner favour certain people. No, they understand the game and they don't make it more difficult than it is already. Like, if a promoter says, right, they want to, all right, I'll put your guy on my show. Like, I had Alfie Clegg on my flyweight. He was on I contacted someone at Sky, and they said to me, first thing they said to me was, all right, it's 2.5 weeks away. What numbers can you do? So I called him and said, Alfie, this is what they're asking for. This is the number. Oh, I desperately want the opportunity. I'll get that. I'll get it done. He did over 250 tickets in 2.5 weeks.
That's mad.
And he got his opportunity on Sky. Like, you can't be in the gym and be mad because that guy got on. You didn't get on because you're not willing to sell the tickets. No, what you got to do, you got to play your role. When you're a B-side, you got to behave like a B-side. That means you have to travel, go and fight in someone else's hometown, because they're the ones that's provide the ticket sales to be able to pay the promoter to put the show on.
Okay,
so
makes sense.
You got to play your role. Don't get mad. Like, don't get mad at guys who have got a big following. Like someone like Alfie, you know, he trains a lot of young kids, and he's got his own little boxing gym. He's got his own small little setup. So all those kids come to see him fight, then their parents come. That's how he's built up his own little fan base.
Okay.
And he's a lot younger than the other guys in my gym. If he's willing to do the hard work, you know, and he's been advised by Dean White. You know, Dean has done a really good job with Alfie. He's had him on all his. I think he's had him nearly on all his fights so far. He's had Alfie on his shows. You know, and now Alfie got his big break. You know, that's how it's supposed to work. You got to work hard for it.
Correct. Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. I understand that. And for you, like, being invited to like Sky and stuff, how does that make you feel?
I've worked very hard to get there. Like, the contacts that I have, I've worked really hard to get there. But you know, it's funny, with like my business partner, we kind of had a conversation with all the boxers that we had at the time, because we were all coming up together. Me and Nick decided, right, we're coming from the amateurs, we're both going to get our pro license. And the boxers that we had with us in the amateurs, we all went and had a meeting. We all sat down in Costa and said, listen, this is what we're going to do by this period. You guys need to do this. And at the time, you know, Facebook was a thing and so on. Nick was telling all these guys, get your followers up. You know, when you have your fights, make sure you invite all your friends, your family. Get those numbers up, so then when we get to where we got to get to, we can make the phone call, and maybe you'll be able to get, you know, a late call up on a big show and do the numbers and get your chance to. Because once you're in front of these people, they don't know you until you get in front of them.
Yeah, for real.
Now, when these execs hear, oh, that guy sold 200 tickets in 2 weeks, now they're talking about you. but you deserve that because you worked hard to get there for them to look at you.
Yeah.
You know, if these guys had listened from the beginning and listened to what me and Nick were saying, then we'd all be in the same position now. Like, I've got to help out the guys that are meeting me halfway. I
Yeah.
can't make a phone call about someone who doesn't do numbers.
Yeah.
You're going to have to
yeah.
get there another way. I'm not saying this is the only way to get there. There's a lot of ways to get there. But this, to me, is the best way, the most sensible way, because you want to work your way towards a British title, because once you win a British title, you're kind of on the verge of a world title, because
Yeah.
you get a world
Okay.
ranking.
Okay.
So when you win the Southern area, win the English, then you go on to the British. Once you get to British level and above, move on to European world, that's when you get the real money. You know, but all the guys that have come before you have kind of had to go through those routes, winning international belts and so on. So, yeah, I think it's the guys that are willing to work hard and willing to work hard for their brand. You know, they don't see themselves as a business, and that's the problem.
Yeah, that's interesting. And when you're in the boxing like gym, can you tell if someone has missed a run or they've ate something wrong? You're looking at me like, yeah.
I know all those tricks because I used to box myself. So,
Yeah.
you know, I'm coming from an environment where we've got all those characters. Had so much guys, and there was guys that were better than me in the gym, you know, but they weren't dedicated. They didn't want to put the work in, you know, so they weren't going to get the same opportunities. You know, the coach wasn't willing to drive miles to this gym and that gym for you to go and spar, you know, well-known guys. Like, you had to work, you had to earn the right to do that. You know, for me to give you my time to go and drive to this place and that place, it has to be worth my time. Number one, I'm going to lose money going to these places anyway, because it take you, an hour and a half to get there, hour and a half back, then the sparring.
Yeah.
You know, and then on top of that, you've got to believe in the guy you're taking with you. Like, he's representing you, so he has to perform when he goes there. I've always said that if you go to someone else's gym, you need to make a statement. Like, you're not there to play around. Like, you'll never know who might be in that gym. It could be a promoter, could be a manager, and you go and deal with that guy that's in front of you, your name starts ringing round. I know guys that have got signed off doing really well in sparring. You know, when you go there, it's serious. Just like if someone comes into your own gym, you don't let someone come in your gym and beat you up. You're holding the fort. Like, to me, like, you can't just come in my gym and beat me up. Like, that was my mentality on a box. So it's like, I've got all my people here. Like, I thought when they've left, I don't say, you let that guy do this. No. Like, I was one of the first guys that got called up if someone came to spar at the gym.
Yeah.
Like, a guy will come in, if he's in and around my weight, my coach will say, yeah, okay, you're sparring Zav. Because he knows I'm going to put the work in. Like, he's not, there's other guys there, but he knows that I'm going to rep the gym because had a lot of pride.
Yeah.
Like, that's another big box that has to be ticked for me. Like, you know, you have to have the pride and the heart of a fighter for me as well.
For real.
More than talent. Yeah, for me, it's like, it's your character and personality that goes a long way.
That makes sense because, like I said, talking to an actual coach, it's giving me a more insight of what's actually happening in the gym, how you do your stuff and stuff like that. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, there's a lot that goes on behind closed doors, man. A lot of people don't understand what actually happens in the gym. I think fans are getting a better insight into it now because of social media.
Yeah.
But it's you don't see the day-to-day grind of these boxers, and everyone's waiting around for the opportunities. And, you know, I've got 2 champions in my gym right now at the same weight. You know, there's 3 belts available. We've got Southern Area, English, and British. And I've got the Southern Area champion and English champion. Now, really, we got to knock on the door now and say, listen, we want that guy that's signed. Like, if that guy's signed to a big platform, I say to my guy, you need to beat that guy up. Because then you take his spot. You get there and you don't, you have to look at yourself. Because that's your opportunity. Because what they've got, you want.
Yeah.
And sometimes you got, and why we work so hard to get the belts is so that at least we're not in the conversation. Like, you have to come and see us. If you want to be a champion in that weight division, you have to come and see us now. You know, it was really, last year, that was the goal this year, was to put those 2 in position where, you know, like, they're there now. And everyone knows, they know who they are. We might see a lot of ducking this year. We might see a lot of ducking.
Lots of hiding, yeah.
I'm already sensing. I know what's going on. You know, there's been a couple of phone calls, and it's got to make sense. And I understand from their end.
Yeah.
If they've got someone they're building again, like if you've got someone who sells 400-500 tickets, why are you going to go and put them with your guy that doesn't do 50?
Yeah.
Is that a smart business move?
It doesn't make sense.
But you see these boxers, because they don't understand it, oh, he's scared of me. No, he's not scared. The manager's taking you somewhere to go and make like life-changing money.
Yeah.
He's going to fight you when you don't bring something to the table. So you have to understand the business side of it. That's why I don't take it personally when certain guys don't want to fight any of my guys, because I understand it.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, fair enough. They don't want to fight him for that reason, because he was too dangerous. All right, let's go and get the belt. Now we're bringing something to the table of value, because obviously you want your guy to win a belt. So now you got to come through us, and that's why you got to put yourself in position. See, that's just how boxing works. It's not personal. It's business. It's always going to be business.
That's it. And when one of your guys like win a belt, how do you feel? Because that must be a mad achievement as well. Because you must be thinking in your head like,
I feel very happy for them. I've always said coaches don't take belts home. You know, when the fight's finished and everyone goes home, I'm already thinking about what we're going to do next. How can I get this boxer to a position where they can start making money? Because the boxer's career is so short. Like, if you're like 25, you'll be lucky to have 8-9 years left in the game. Now, if you think about a boxer's career, let's say you are a lightweight, you probably peak at like between 28, 30, 31, and after that you start to decline pretty quick, and then you're probably done by 35. Yeah. So by 35, you've got the rest of your life going forward. What do you do with the rest of your life? So in that period, you need to make as much money as possible. So, yeah, I love that short period of that joy of that boxer lifting that belt. You know, nothing can replace that moment. But when I get in the car, like I did the other day, I'm already thinking, right, we need to get in a position where, you know, we can start earning money now. You know, we've got the belt, we need to start making money, because the belt's supposed to bring value. So, yeah, for that moment, yeah, I'm there. But after that, and I've got 8-9 pros in my gym, so I'm really thinking about, right, how am I going to maneuver that one now, or get that one in position?
Is it? Yeah. So it's all about positioning.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, because that's what my guy always says to me. Like, because I've got a team behind me as well, and then he always says to me, Dre, it's all about positioning.
It is.
And it's like he says to me as well, like, you can't do this by yourself. It's all about positioning and who is in position. Because when everybody's in position, you would know how to tackle the situation, how to tackle that filming, what you're doing.
100%.
Do you know what I'm saying?
100%. And that's why I'm grateful for having a business partner like Nick, because we spent so long working education together. And while we were in the schools, we were talking about what we're doing now. And I said, I think it was maybe 2016, right, I need to leave now and start reducing my days there so we can set things up, so we can, you know, so we will be where we are.
Yeah.
And we both understood the journey. And, you know, now we've won multiple titles, you know, had big stadium fights. You know,
what was the biggest one that you had?
Wtp Fury. It's like 90,000 at Wembley. Like, that's, again, a lot of... I have to be very grateful. You know, most coaches are never going to be involved in a fight that big. And there's loads and loads of good coaches. I've seen some coaches that are better than the ones that are high profile. I'm talking technically, in terms of teaching boxers. But you've got to take your opportunities when they come. You know, I was willing to sacrifice a very difficult period, you know, where basically everything shut down, flights, whatever. I was willing to travel and do what I had to do. Most of my coaches, my friends in boxing I spoke to, said that they wouldn't do it. They wouldn't have left their family to go and do that. So yeah, that was one of the biggest. I think fighting for a European title is one of the biggest. working with Don Charles, who trains Dubois now.
Okay.
Been in the corner for a couple of his fights. Worked with Chisora for a couple of fights.
That's mad. Good. I didn't even know that. That's crazy.
Yeah, Chisora beat Takam. I was working with Don Charles for that fight. And then Chisora beat White. I was actually working with Don Charles in the opposite corner to White. And then a couple of fights later, then I got involved in working with Team White. So I've had a lot of experience, and to be honest, I'm very grateful to Don Charles because he's very much like the person that I met when I got involved in education.
Yeah.
The person I met is a lady called Alison.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I first walked into the school, she said to me, "Don't ask me any questions. I'm going to send you on this course and that course, and just do it. Don't ask me anything." I'd only known her for 2 weeks. I said, I don't know anything about the business, so
Was you thinking to yourself like, oh, okay, don't ask no questions, what if I need help? Or you just got on with it?
No, the way she spoke to me, immediately I just trusted what she was saying, and I just gone with it. And, because of what she said to me and, where I started from, that's why I was quite successful in education. And it was the same thing when I met Don Charles. I went to visit him just to ask him to be there on the opening day of my gym, because I said, I know you for being a figure in boxing. And, he just turned up on the day. I couldn't believe it. I didn't know him. And then a few weeks later, he said to me, right, what are you doing on Saturday? I said, I'm just working gym. He said, no, you're not. You're going to be in the corner for this fight. Then he'll call me a few weeks later and say, you're going to be in the corner for that fight. Don't ask me anything. Just do it. He said, you'll see later in your career why I'm asking you to do it. He said, don't ask me anything. Just do it. Whatever I say to you, just do it. And he warned me about what people and characters to look out for in boxing.
Yeah.
He was right about all of them, but I was well prepped, and because of those sort of big fights, it's an advantage for the guys I've got now because they haven't been where I've been.
Yeah.
So a lot of times you'd want to go to a coach or a mentor who obviously knows the sport or knows more than you do. How are you gonna learn from someone who doesn't know what they're doing?
Yeah.
So I've had to learn the hard way. Had some good wins, had some harsh losses, but this is all part of the journey. And now, I'm always the most. I would say maybe apart from Nick, my business partner, I'm always the most calm guy. That come fight night. Never nervous. I'm always just focused on exactly what needs to be done. And Nick's very much the same. Got a cut man, John Cole. He's very much the same. The three of us, same sort of character. So we don't very rarely need to shout or scream in a corner. It's always calm. Helps the boxer. The boxer wants instructions.
Yeah.
Most boxers want instructions. Like, how can you help me? Not screaming and shouting, because it makes a lot of boxers panic. If the corner's all like, it's all disjointed and you got this person talking to you, then that person, then they're giving information. A lot of coaches work in a team, like they feel like their voice has to be heard.
Yeah.
You have to respect the person who's the head coach in the corner.
Yeah.
And listen to that one
true.
voice. So then you'll always be calm and understand where the instructions are coming from. You work as a team in the corner during the round, but when it comes to delivering the information, it should really come from one person. And if you trust the second that you've got, then obviously they're gonna have their input as well. So
that is true. So, what advice would you actually give to the would you say upcoming coaches and / boxers, like what you should do?
A couple of boxers and very good coaches, I've had to, and it was a difficult decision for me. I've had to say to them, go to university or go to work. There's no money in boxing. Because I know it's like the music industry. There's very few people make it.
Yeah.
Boxers and boxing coaches, it's no different. Like, there's just not many guys that make it to the very top level compared to how many there is. One of the young guys in my gym, brilliant. I can see he's going to be special as a coach. Like 19, 20. No, go to university first. You've got enough time to come back to this. And I did the same thing with one of my other boxers, one of the best boxers I had. I said, no, you need to go to uni first. His brother spoke to me and said, listen, what do you think you should do? I said, no, send him to uni. I'm here. When he's finished, he can come back.
That's interesting, you know.
You know, and that boxer actually pursued his work. You know, he didn't ever come back to boxing. This coach, and the current coach at the moment, again, I want him to finish his degree and then come and talk to you about boxing coaching. I'll help you after that point. But at least if it doesn't work, you can go back to that. You know, I could be selfish. I mean, it's at this point, coaches want as much help in the gym as possible. It's difficult. It's like it's physical every day. But I always think, like, you know, what would you want for your kid? If somebody was asking you that question, you put them first. You know, it's like my son. You know, no, you got to finish this first. Then whatever you're talking about after, we can do that later on down the line. But you need to get this done first. Yeah, that's what I would say to any coach coming up. Like, especially if you're a young coach, is if you've got an opportunity to go and get your degree, then do it. If you can go and get qualified in that field, like becoming, you know, doing sports science or becoming a personal trainer, I'd say do that. So then if the boxing coach doesn't work, you still got an income. Or you can do the boxing coaching and then you still got an income.
Oh, yeah.
Because until you make it, you know, and another interesting thing is, I don't want these coaches coming up now to have this fallacy idea that boxing coaches make money, because they don't. You are the lowest paid member of your team, believe it or not, as a boxing coach. You're the lowest paid member. I'll give you an example. A boxing coach is supposed to get 10% of the fighter's purse. If you train that boxer, let's say it's a 12-week camp, you've got a fight date, and you get through 10 weeks, and that boxer gets injured, as a boxing coach, you get nothing. Because the boxer didn't fight. So they didn't get a purse.
That is true.
So you get nothing. You get zero. Now, the strength and conditioning coach that you've got, or your nutritionist, they've already got a set price point. So, all right, they're going to charge you $500 for the camp or $1,000 or whatever. You have to pay. You pay them. They're getting their money either weekly or every four weeks, or they've got an agreement or a date when they're getting their money.
Okay, yeah.
They get paid. The boxing coach gets nothing. Now, a manager of a boxer gets 25%. Now, they're making all the calls and making sure you're comfortable with your training and so on and so forth. But they're not there every single day dealing with the boxer. And we spoke earlier about the emotions, dealing with the boxer, you know, the physical side, making sure they're doing their running, their sparring, all these things you got to document, you know, making sure you know, when a boxer walks to the ring, I've always said that the best way to give a boxer confidence is knowing that they've done all the things they need to do. So when you're walking to that ring and you know you've done the running you're supposed to do, you know you sparred the number of rounds you're supposed to, you know you made weight the right way, you didn't crash weight, it gives you a lot of confidence knowing I did everything. All I've got to do now is fight. But when you know you haven't, you take shortcuts, it's different. You know, so
that's true.
The boxing coach takes on a hell of a lot of weight. And even if you do have a boxer who's made 10 grand and you're getting 10% for 12 weeks work, I can get more than that working in Sainsbury's. There's no money in boxing coaching. The only time you make any real money is if you've got a high profile boxer. You know, you've got like an Anthony Joshua or one of those kind of fighters who get a big purse, and then you're talking about 10% of that, then it becomes worth your while.
That's a big bag as well.
But even those kind of boxers and that kind of purse, those kind of boxers tend to fight once a year. How much are you really making?
True.
And then you've got all the other boxers that you're building that have got to be ticket sellers. Like if I've got a boxer in my gym and they can only sell 50 tickets, and to break even on a night, paying for their opponent, promoter, and so on and so forth, they have to sell 60. I'm not going to go and take the money from you. You're someone that I'm building, so again, you're doing it for nothing. And in the hope that one day they're going to get somewhere. And even then, on that journey, most boxers leave anyway at certain points. So that's, you asked me a question about the advice to a coach. I think the most important thing is to be honest about what it is they're getting involved in. Like, don't see Instagram post or see a coaching team in a corner on a Matchroom card or a Queensbury card and think, yeah, that guy's doing good, he's making money. There's no money in boxing like that. You need to have a variety of different sources of income coming in. You know, you've got to do your personal training sessions, you know, running your own gym, like a members gym, you know, getting sponsorship, getting investments. That's why I appreciate what Jay does in the Misfits, because he's built a brand first.
Yeah,
So
it makes
he would have
sense.
sponsors and so on. So he's actually in a better position than a lot of my professional boxers, because they haven't done the work, because they don't understand it. So I would say you got to do it for the love of it, but at least have something to fall back on where you can at least earn a living.
Yeah,
Because
for real.
most coaches, they have a full-time job. Most of the coaches that I know are either builders or electricians or whatever, and then they come in the evening and coach the boxers. That's the reality of coaching. For you to say you're going to be a full-time boxing coach, you have to have a business plan, and you have to, at some point, be fortunate enough to get some high-profile boxers. You're not going to make any money. I'm going to be honest with you, unless you get in that position where you've got 2 or 3 guys that are on TV that are fighting regularly. You better get by on something like that. But that's the reality of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the realness, man. And I never thought it was actually like that as well.
The boxers are the ones that get in the ring. They're the ones that's just taking the risk with their lives. So the purses they get, they deserve it. I just want everyone to be realistic on what a boxing coach's role is and what the expectations are and what they're entitled to.
Yeah.
You know, the boxing board rules and regulations tells you everything you need to know about the earnings and what they think you deserve. Boxing coach is entitled to 10%, a manager is entitled to 25%. All you got to do is look at that.
Yeah, and you have to really be in this sport for the passion as well, not for the money.
Yep.
I learned that as well.
100%. You're not going to get rich doing it. Very unlikely you're going to get comfortable doing it. So you just have to really like it. You know, my motivation comes from somewhere else. So, you know, my joy comes from these guys winning belts and seeing the look on their face with all the hard work they put in, and then get to wrap that belt around their waist and all their people taking pictures with them, and you know, and looking at them differently, you know, being inspired by them. That for me is you can't buy that.
Yeah, that's true, man.
Can't
That's
buy
true. And then one more question to
Mm-hmm.
wrap it all up.
Yep.
What is the quote of the day? It can be anything.
Quote of the day.
Yeah.
I can give you a quote that we always use.
Yeah.
You know, I think you need to. Well, if you want to be successful, you have to immerse yourself in that business. So, if you want to be a successful boxer, immerse yourself in the sport of boxing. You know, watch boxing all the time. Talk to boxers who have been at a higher level than you, and be in and around the environment, not just the physical, the business side of it. So you understand all of it. That means you've immersed yourself in it.
Yeah.
You understand it. So I'd say, yeah, that's the quote I use. That's on my banners. That's what me and Nick use as inspiration for our boxers. Like it's knowing that you are the brand, and if you get that right, you'll do well.
Yeah, that's a wicked quote, man. Wicked, and it makes sense as well. It makes sense. And I just want to say personally, thank you for coming down.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Very, very different type of interview. Like I do normally, I'm on boxing channels, so I don't really get to talk about
I see that
the journey.
as well.
So I appreciate, you know, 'cause obviously I hope your
I like
followers
to
enjoy it.
switch it up as well. Like, do you get what I'm saying? Like, I really do. Like, want to try different ideas. This is about people these days. They don't like to try different things.
It's true.
I'm trying to get out of my comfort zone.
Yeah, me too. With this new podcast that I'm talking about as well, it's I just want to try something a little bit different. Again, if it goes well, it's another source of income.
There you go, innit?
Yeah, got to think business.
Yeah, that's it, man. But yeah, again, thank you for coming down.
You're more than welcome, brother.
And I know you're a busy man, running the gym and stuff.
No, you're welcome.
So,
I was more than happy to come down and do this one. You know, I saw the last one you did, one of our boxers, so definitely, you know, I'm glad that you guys are supporting him in his journey.
Oh
so,
yeah, for real, man. For real. He's my guy. He's my guy, man. He's my guy. But yeah.
Thank you for your time, brother.
It's alright, man. Thank you. But people, we are at the end of the episode. Put down in the comments down below who you want to see next. And like I always say, keep it wavy, baby.